This lecture video will talk about material in chapter 24. So we're jumping a little bit out of our sequence here because we've learned about atomic structure and how molecules are made and the bonds that store the energy that we need for physiological processes. And then we've learned about the cell and the parts of the cell. And now we're going to put those together. A cell needs to be able to have energy and make energy in order to do functions or carry out functions. And so there are biochemical reactions that happen that allow a cell to be able to make energy or make ATP. So we call this metabolism or energy metabolism. And just like you might think of metabolism meaning how quickly you can burn through calories, metabolism is relying on those nutrients that we ingest. So whatever food we eat is being broken down and absorbed to give us the molecules to make ATP. So metabolism, as it says here, are nutrients used in biochemical reactions to provide energy. And it can also be considered all of the chemical reactions that we have or that occur to maintain life. Now, there are two ways that we can make energy or make ATP. There's anaerobic metabolism. This is without oxygen. And there is aerobic metabolism with oxygen. So anaerobic metabolism, you might think of things that you do that are anaerobic, which would be high intensity, short spurts of energy. So these examples here in these pictures are for high intensity, short lasting activities. Whereas most of what we do is going to require oxygen, so it's aerobic. So usually anaerobic metabolism occurs within 90 seconds or less. But any activity that's going to go over about a minute and a half to 2 minutes is going to require oxygen. So here is just an example to show you. I'm not concerned about you knowing about the phosphagen system, but essentially these two processes are what our body uses to make energy without oxygen. So these are examples of anaerobic metabolism. All right, and then aerobic respiration is going to involve oxygen. O2. So anything over, 90 seconds to 2 minutes is going to take oxygen. Even if you go on a walk in the neighborhood, that's going to take enough energy or require enough energy that you will be using aerobic respiration or metabolism. So how do we produce energy? Energy, if you recall from chapter 2, comes in two forms. There's potential and kinetic energy. And energy can be in lots of different forms. It can exist as heat. It can be mechanical energy, electrical energy. We have chemical energy stored in our bonds of our macromolecules or in our molecules in our body. And so bioenergetics here is just the fancy term for metabolism. And this is the chemical reaction process that's going to involve converting that food that we ingest into energy. Again, we still have potential and kinetic energy. It's just going to be in the form of macromolecules and chemical bonds. Again, it can happen with or without oxygen. So some examples of this and how we can produce energy and use it in different forms would be exercise. So like we see here in this bottom picture, the chemical energy that exists within our macromolecules that we eat, we can break those down and use it to generate ATP, and we can convert it, our bodies convert it into mechanical energy by being able to move our muscles. And so by contracting our muscles, we're using them in a mechanical form to act on bones and transform ATP into mechanical energy, where we're actually moving bones and we're making motion. So that is an example of how we convert chemical energy into a mechanical energy. And in this form, in the chemical form, this exists as potential energy. When we break the ATP bonds and we use that energy to form mechanical energy, then we are actually exhibiting kinetic energy.